My name is Elsie, and I am 58 years old. For most of my life, I believed being a good mother, and later a good grandmother, meant my own dreams could wait patiently on a shelf gathering dust. This Christmas was supposed to be no different. I had my schedule cleared, but this time I had also made a secret reservation, one that felt less like a plan and more like a quiet act of rebellion brewing in my heart. Before we go any further, I would love to know, for those of you listening to my voice right now, where are you in the world? Please take a second to say hello in the comments below. It truly means so much. And if you have ever felt your own quiet rebellion starting to stir, I invite you to hit that like button and subscribe. This story is for all of us who are learning that it is never too late. The scent of gingerbread and pine filled my little house on Wintercrest Lane. I had spent days preparing. The cookies were shaped like reindeer and stars. The guest room was made up with the flannel sheets my son Daniel loves, and a small mountain of wrapped gifts sat under the tree, mostly for my grandchildren, Lily and Noah. I was buzzing with that warm, hopeful anticipation that only comes before a family visit. My heart felt full, picturing their laughter, the chaos of torn wrapping paper, the sticky hugs. I was ready to be Grandma, the anchor, the soft place to land. What I was not ready for was the casual erasure of my own life that arrived with their minivan. The first 2 days were pure, beautiful chaos, exactly as I had imagined. Lily at 6 was a whirlwind of questions and artistic endeavors covering my kitchen table in glitter. Noah 4 was my shadow, his small hand perpetually finding mine. Daniel, my boy, now a 32-year-old man with a software engineer's tired eyes, seemed to relax for the first time in months. His wife Chloe, elegant even in jeans, complimented my decorations. We ate roast turkey and watched classic movies. It was perfect. It was the calm before the storm I did not see coming. It was on Christmas Eve, over a dinner of leftover pie, that the first fissure appeared. Chloe reached across the table, touching Daniel's hand with a smile that did not quite reach her eyes. "So, we have a little surprise," she said, her voice bright. "We booked a last-minute getaway, just a 4-night wellness retreat at that new lodge in the mountains. It starts the day after Christmas, a little reboot before the new year." "Oh, that sounds wonderful for you two," I said, genuinely meaning it. "They both worked so hard." "It will be," Daniel said, nodding. "And we knew you would love having some extra one-on-one time with the kids. Actually, we were thinking, since their winter break goes until January 6th, maybe you could just keep the routine going until then. It would be so much easier than disrupting them again." The words hung in the air. Keep the routine going. 11 days. They had not asked. They had informed. A cold trickle started in my chest, but I pushed it down, coating it with the warm syrup of grandmotherly duty. "Well," I said, my voice thinner than I wanted, "that is quite a long time." "Mom, you don't have anything else going on, right?" Daniel said, not unkindly, but with a certainty that felt like a slap. "It'll be great for you. And honestly, Chloe and I really need this." The subtext was clear. My time was not just available, it was theirs to allocate. My quiet life, my part-time bookkeeping clients, my book club, my simple need for solitude, none of it registered as anything else going on. I saw the expectant looks on their faces. I saw my granddaughter's frosting smudged smile. The word no dissolved on my tongue. "Of course," I heard myself say. "We will have a lovely time." That night, after everyone was asleep, I stood in my walk-in closet. There behind my winter coats was a new sturdy burgundy suitcase. Next to it, a manila folder held a printed itinerary for a 2-week tour of Sedona, Arizona, departing December 26th. My friend Marjorie had been begging me to come visit for years. On a lonely night 2 months ago, on a whim, fueled by a particularly silent evening I had booked it. I had never actually believed I would go. I pulled out my phone and called her. Elsie, my God, do you know what time it is in Arizona? Marjorie's voice was raspy with sleep, but immediately alert. They just told me they are leaving for a retreat the day after Christmas, and they want me to keep the kids for the entire winter break. Without asking, they just assumed. Marjorie was silent for a moment. Then she said the words that would become my mantra. Elsie, honey, those babies will love you whether you babysit for 2 weeks or 2 hours. But what about you? Do you still love yourself enough to say, this is not okay? I looked at the suitcase, a symbol of a self I had forgotten. I do not know anymore, I whispered. Well, it is time to find out, she said. The ticket is bought. The guest room is ready. The only question is, who are you going to be? The woman who waits or the woman who goes? The next morning, Daniel and Chloe left for their mountain retreat with the breezy energy of people shedding responsibilities. Their goodbye kisses were quick, their instructions rapid fire. Noah's allergy medicine is on the counter. Lily's reading log is in her backpack. Thanks, Mom. You are the best. The door closed, and an abrupt, heavy quiet settled over the house, soon broken by the joyful shrieks of children who now ruled the kingdom. I love them. Let me be absolutely clear about that. I love the weight of Noah sleeping on my chest, the earnest concentration on Lily's face as she sounds out a new word. But love does not magically bestow the energy of a 30-year-old. The first 2 days were a marathon of meal prep playground trips, meltdown mediation, and endless rounds of pretend. My lower back ached with a familiar thrum. By the third night, when Noah woke crying from a bad dream at 3 a.m. and would only settle if I rocked him in the old glider for an hour, I felt a deep cellular exhaustion. It was not just tiredness. It was the erosion of my own personhood grain by grain. When my phone buzzed with a video call from Daniel and Chloe, I hastily smoothed my hair. On the screen, they were glowing. They were in white robes, sitting by a stunning fire, holding steaming mugs. Hi, Mom. How is everything? Chloe asked, her face relaxed. Oh, we are managing, I said, forcing a smile. Noah had a rough night, but we are okay. That is too bad. Daniel said, his gaze already drifting to something off screen. Well, hang in there. The fresh air here is incredible. We are off to a sound bath session. Say hi to the kids for us. The call disconnected before I could even reply. I stood there in my quiet, toy-strewn kitchen, the silence after the call ringing louder than any cry. I was the help, reliable, expected, and utterly invisible. That was the moment the last thread of guilt snapped. While Lily was engrossed in a cartoon and Noah was napping, I did not just go to my closet to look at the suitcase. I went to my desk. I opened my laptop and I clicked confirm on the airline's website. Then I opened another tab. I sent an email to Tom, the realtor who had helped us buy this house with Robert so many years ago. Tom, it is Elsie. I am thinking of making a change. Could we have a discreet conversation about the current market value of the house on Wintercrest? No sign, no fanfare, just information. The act of sending it felt like opening a window in a stuffy room. The true catalyst, however, came 2 days later. I was in the living room trying to gently clean a sticky handprint off the glass of a framed family photo. Noah was playing with a soft ball nearby. In one terrible slow-motion instant, the ball arced from his hands, bounced once on the coffee table, and sailed straight into the antique milk glass vase on the shelf. It was not just any vase. Robert had given it to me on our 10th anniversary after he had saved for months. It was fragile, beautiful, and it shattered on the hardwood floor with a sound that felt like my own heart breaking. I gasped. Noah burst into terrified tears. I rushed to him, checking for cuts, holding him. It is okay, sweet pea. It is okay. It was an accident. I was soothing him, but inside I was grieving. I gathered the large, jagged pieces carefully. Later, when I told Daniel and Chloe about it on a quick check-in call, their reaction sealed something within me. Oh, that old thing, Daniel said, sounding distracted. Do not worry about it, Mom. Kids break stuff. We will get you a new one from Target or something. Chloe chimed in. Yes, do not stress. It is not a big deal. Not a big deal. The physical manifestation of a love story of sacrifice of a memory of my husband's proud, smiling face when he presented it to me, reduced to a replaceable item from a big box store. Their dismissal was not malicious. It was simply a profound lack of seeing me. They did not see the history in the object, and in that moment, I realized they did not see the history in me either. I was just Grandma, the function, not Elsie, the woman with a past, a heart, and a breaking point. That evening, after putting the children to bed, I did not call Marjorie. I called Tom. "Let us move forward," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I am ready to list the house." The return of Daniel and Chloe was like a summer storm rolling in. They burst through the door, tanned and buzzing with anecdotes about yoga and green juices, dropping their luggage in the foyer with the expectation that it would be dealt with. They swept the children into loud hugs, the house filling again with their vibrant, entitled energy. I moved through the familiar motions of making coffee, feeling like a ghost in my own home. We settled in the living room, the Christmas tree now looking a bit sad and shedding. Chloe stretched a contented sigh on her lips. That was exactly what we needed. Now for phase 2 of the break. I have to get back to work remotely next week, but the kids are still off. So we were thinking, Mom, since you are already in the groove. Daniel picked up the thread seamlessly. Yeah, and actually we got a notice from Noah's preschool. They are closing for an extra week for emergency pipe repairs. So that extends everything through January 13th. Makes it simpler if you just keep him the whole time, right? You are a lifesaver. He said it with a smile, the same smile I had seen when he was 8 and assumed I would magically produce a forgotten science project poster board at 10 p.m. It was the smile of absolute unshakable assumption. I set my coffee mug down on the side table. I felt a profound calm descend over me, the calm that comes when a decision is irrevocably made. I looked at my son, then at my daughter-in-law. I smiled. It was not my usual accommodating grandmother smile. It was a new smile, serene and unassailable. It does sound like a convenient plan, I said, my voice even and clear. However, I will not be able to. My flight to Sedona, Arizona departs at 9:05 tonight. The room did not just go quiet. The silence was a physical entity, thick and stunned. Daniel blinked. Chloe's mouth, which had been poised to continue speaking, remained slightly open. What? Daniel finally managed the word flat. My flight to Sedona, I repeated gently. I am spending 2 weeks with Marjorie. I have had the trip booked for a while. Chloe found her voice first a high-pitched flutter of panic. But the children, our work, you cannot just leave. I have made arrangements, I said, reaching for the notepad on the table. I have hired a wonderful, fully vetted nanny service. A very capable woman named Sonia will be here from 8 to 5 for the next 3 days, which gives you ample time to make your own plans. I have already paid her for those days. Her contact information schedule and the children's routine are all written down here. I slid the notepad toward them. Daniel stared at it as if it were a poisonous insect. His face cycled from confusion to dawning anger. You hired a stranger without consulting us, Mom. What is wrong with you? We are your family. That is precisely why I am doing this, I said, standing up. My knees did not shake. I am your family, Daniel. I am your mother. I am not a convenience. You did not ask me for a favor. You told me my time was yours to claim for 2 full weeks without a single thought to what I might want or need. That is not how we treat family. You are being selfish. He spat the word, hanging in the air, sharp and ugly. I absorbed it. And to my surprise, it did not wound me. It freed me. If setting a boundary to remember who I am is selfish, then yes. For the first time in 32 years, I am being selfish. I turned and walked toward my bedroom to finish packing, leaving them in the devastating silence of their own assumptions. The flight was a cocoon of anonymity. As the lights of Portland disappeared beneath the wing, I expected a tidal wave of guilt. Instead, I felt a lightheaded sense of release. I called Marjorie from the Phoenix airport. "I am in the air, well on the ground now. I did it. I knew you had it in you, you old rebel." She laughed a rich, warm sound. "Now get your bones to Sedona. The red rocks are waiting." And they were. Sedona was not just a change of scenery. It was a different planet. The sheer, rust-colored cliffs against the impossibly blue sky seemed to put every small problem into perspective. Marjorie, a whirlwind in hiking boots and silver jewelry, had me on a trail by 10 a.m. the next morning. The physical challenge was immense, but with every step I felt myself shedding the weight of expectation. I breathed air that did not smell of toddler snacks or cleaning products. I slept through the night in a quiet guest room and woke to the sound of birds, not cartoons. I met Beth on a guided vortex tour. She was around my age, recently divorced, and had moved to Sedona on a whim. Over prickly pear iced tea, we shared stories. Hers was of a husband who had retired and expected her to be his full-time cruise director. I just looked at him one day and said, "I have been packing your lunches for 40 years. I am done. Sold the house, took my half, and came here." Her courage was contagious. For a week, I did not think of myself as a grandmother or a mother. I was Elsie, the woman who could identify a juniper tree, who laughed until she cried at Marjorie's stories, who bought a silly, beautiful dream catcher from a local artist just because it spoke to her. I was rediscovering a language of self that had gone dormant. The call came on my 8th day there. I was sitting on Marjorie's patio, sketching the silhouette of Cathedral Rock, feeling a peace so deep it felt like a new kind of bone marrow. The ringtone was Daniel's. His voice when I answered was not angry. It was shrill with panic. "Mom! Mom, what did you do?" I went by the house to get my old baseball glove, and there is a sign. A sold sign. Tom was there. He said you closed last week. "What is happening? Did you sell the house?" I watched a hawk circle the red rock. "Yes, Daniel, I sold the house." The silence on the line was total. I could hear his ragged breath. Why would you do that without talking to us? Where are you going to live? This is insane." "Daniel, listen to me," I said, my voice the calm center of his storm. "That house has 3 bedrooms, 2 living areas, and a yard that requires constant work. It is too much for one person. It has been too much since your father died. The taxes, the upkeep, it was draining me financially and in every other way. I am nearly 60. I do not want to spend my weekends cleaning gutters and worrying about a leaking roof." "But that is our home, my childhood home." "It was my home," I corrected him softly. "I raised you in it. I loved you and your father in it, and I will always cherish those memories. But it is not your inheritance to manage. It is my life to live. I need something smaller, easier, closer to things I enjoy. Maybe a downtown apartment. Maybe a little cottage near friends." "Are you moving to Arizona?" he asked, and I heard the childlike fear beneath the anger. "I do not know yet," I said honestly. "I am exploring my options. That is the point. For the first time in a very long time, my options are my own." He was quiet for a long time. "I do not even know what to say," he whispered, defeated. "You do not have to say anything right now. Just think about it, and maybe think about why the idea of me having my own life feels like a threat to you." We ended the call there. The hawk had landed still and majestic on its perch. I felt the same. The fallout was not a single explosion, but a series of aftershocks. Chloe called next, her tone a masterclass in emotional manipulation cycling from fury. "How could you destabilize the children like this, to wounded guilt? They miss their grandma so much, you are breaking their hearts." I remained a gentle, unmovable wall. "We will arrange visits. They can come to my new place. It will be different, but different is not bad. It will be healthier for all of us." Daniel called again, this time calmer, to ask practical questions about the sale, the moving timeline. I gave him the facts, closing in 6 weeks. A moving company already booked a storage unit for items I was not ready to part with. My matter-of-factness was a mirror showing him this was not a tantrum. This was a strategic, deliberate life change. Back in Portland, I moved through the emptying house like a surgeon, not a mourner. Each item was a decision: keep, donate, sell. I kept Robert's favorite armchair, the family photo albums, the small collection of my mother's china. I donated bags of clothes I had not worn in a decade and toys my grandchildren had outgrown. Selling the house was not an act of erasure. It was an act of curation, choosing what to carry into my future. I found a perfect sun-drenched one-bedroom apartment in a vibrant neighborhood known for its walkability. It had a small balcony, brand new appliances, and was a 10-minute walk from the public library and a community arts center. The first night I spent there on an air mattress, surrounded by boxes, I felt a thrilling sense of ownership. This space was mine alone. No one's childhood memories were embedded in its walls. It was a blank page. The first visit was awkward. Daniel brought Lily and Noah on a Saturday afternoon. My apartment was new, small, and fascinating to them. "You live in a tower, Grandma," Lily exclaimed, looking out at the city view. I had set up a small corner for them with art supplies and a few books. The visit was shorter, more intentional. When it was time to leave, Daniel lingered at the door. "Look, Mom, about what I said, about you being selfish." He shoved his hands in his pockets, unable to meet my eye. That was out of line. I was just shocked. "I guess I never really thought about you being unhappy." "I was not unhappy, Daniel," I said. "I was just invisible, to myself most of all. And when you become invisible to yourself, you start to disappear to everyone else too." He nodded, a slow, heavy motion. "I am sorry for taking you for granted. It is just, you were always just there, like the sun coming up." "The sun also sets," I said with a small smile. "And it needs to rest so it can rise again. I am still here. I am just rising on my own schedule now." It was not a full reconciliation, but it was the first fragile bridge over a wide chasm. The final boxes were unpacked. My new apartment had soft yellow walls. My books were on the shelves, and Robert's chair sat by the balcony window, a familiar friend in a new land. I enrolled in a photography class at the Arts Center, focusing on capturing everyday beauty. My instructor said my shots had a poignant found light quality. I also carefully selected 2 new bookkeeping clients whose small businesses I found genuinely interesting. My days had a rhythm. I designed work in the mornings, a walk in the afternoon class, or reading in the evening. Sometimes I had dinner with a new friend from my building. Sometimes I relished the quiet. Daniel and I have settled into a new, more honest rhythm. He calls to ask how my photo project is going, not just to ask if I can pick up Noah from soccer. He asks before assuming I am free for babysitting, and I say yes when I genuinely want to, and no when I need my own time without apology. The children are adapting. To them, I am now Grandma in the city with the cool balcony, which has its own special charm. The healing was not in a single dramatic moment, but in the accumulation of small, quiet victories. The first time I said no, and the world did not end. The first time I bought a piece of art simply because I loved it, with no thought to whether it went with anything. The deep, uninterrupted sleep in my peaceful apartment. The pain of being taken for granted did not vanish. It transformed into a valuable scar tissue, tougher and wiser, reminding me of my own boundaries. Here is what I learned in all its painful simplicity. Love is not a blank check. It is a shared account, and both parties need to make deposits. For years, I was making all the deposits, and my son had forgotten he needed to contribute anything but withdrawals. Saying no was not a rejection of him or my grandchildren. It was the first crucial deposit I made back into my own soul. It redrew the borders of our relationship so that love could grow in a healthier, more respectful space. Choosing yourself is not the opposite of loving your family. It is the foundation. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and for too long, I was trying to pour from a cup I had never bothered to fill. My suitcase now sits in my hall closet, not hidden, but ready. Sedona was not a one-time escape. It was the first chapter of a new book, and I am the author. So I am curious for all of you listening. Have you ever had a moment where you realized you had become invisible even to the people you love most? What was the first small step you took to become visible again to yourself? Share your story in the comments below. I read every one. If my journey resonated with you, please give this video a like. It lets me know these stories matter. Subscribe for more conversations about finding our voices at any age. And if you know someone who needs to hear that it is okay to set boundaries, even with family, please share this with them. Thank you for listening, for being part of this community. And remember, your next chapter is always waiting to be written. Be brave enough to turn the page.